But we're going to start with one here from, uh, from maybe Sean. It looks like Sean Nakai, and there's a username, but potentially this Sean. I don't know. And they asked, "How do I get back on the immersion wagon?"
Hmm.
Lots of us fall off the wagon occasionally, the bandwagon, the immersion wagon, and sometimes for a long period of time. What are some steps that we can recommend to get back into language learning after a while?
Yeah. Um, it's a relevant question for me because I literally just did this. Uh, so I burned out pretty hard last summer and decided to sort of ramp down everything and focus my efforts on other things just to refresh myself. So did some weightlifting, did some running, did more social things, etc. And about probably a month and a half ago is when I decided, okay, now it's time to like start building back up in Spanish. Um, and it's been an interesting process because I had hoped that I could sort of like just jump into the output, which is what I actually want to practice.
Hmm.
Um, and what I found is that it was actually quite difficult to just do that if you don't have an foundation and input or like a regular encounter with the language. And I did to some extent. Like I still listen to audiobooks in Spanish and I still watch TV in Spanish, but I wasn't doing any sort of more intensive activities. I wasn't doing in sentence mining or intensive reading or intensive listening. Um, I wasn't doing any of those activities. It was really just like sort of a passive enjoyment thing. And switching from that mode into actually like Spanish study mode turned out to be a lot harder than I was expecting, especially because we also had a lot of stuff going on in the company that I was also trying to learn at the same time. So I've actually found it quite difficult to ramp up on Spanish at the same time that I'm ramping up on other things as well. And it's only really been this week where I've started to feel like I'm back in Spanish mode. And part of that really came from just finding things that I was interested in. Started doing things that are harder in Spanish that aren't necessarily the hardest things. Um, but I think it's really important for you to find something that actually appeals to you and not just force yourself to do any random thing. So for me, uh, there are certain pieces of media that are aligned with my interests. So I like Shark Tank from Mexico because it's got all sorts of business vocabulary. I recently signed up for Platzi because they have a whole curriculum around software, so front end development, back end development, and I've been knee deep in mobile and back end development for the past few weeks. So it was aligned with something that I was already interested in and that I already needed to do anyway. So switching those things over was much easier. But yeah, I will say it takes some time and effort and daily practice of just remembering that Spanish should be the default for you in your moments of leisure or your moments of downtime, and making sure that you have readily accessible activities for those moments. So in those moments where you're like, I don't really know what to do, you do know what to do because there's something immediately there. You got to build up your own repertoire of activities that are relevant to you.
Yeah. And I want to go back a little bit. You said that you had still been doing like TV shows, audiobooks.
Yeah,
And so you hadn't fully fallen off the bandwagon, right?
correct.
And because I think that's something that's important, especially it was for me, because I had a period of a couple months where I was not really very inspired to do Spanish, but I kept doing it every single day because I had a really solid baseline. Like
Hmm.
it was just things that I did in Spanish, and I didn't want to stop doing those because I liked those. They were just
Right.
in Spanish. And so making sure that you get to a point where falling off the bandwagon is actually still fine is very helpful for getting back into it. But then once you get back into it, it sounds like you should be okay with having it taking some time to get there and forgiving yourself to not become immediately just the greatest Spanish speaker in the world or language speaker in the world after a couple of months of not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now,
I think I find not just for language learning, but for any activity, any self improvement thing or goal based thing, the first couple weeks are really just about kind of figuring it out and you can't really judge your success based on what you do in those first few weeks. It's really just a first step towards trying to integrate that activity back into your life, or into your life for the first time. And you learn a lot about yourself and about the activity as you go. So what I would recommend is dedicate sort of a month of time. For me, I usually do like 3 weeks of, this is going to be my default activity for the next 3 weeks. So anytime I'm bored, anytime I think about doing like other hobbies, I'm just going to remember like, nope, this 3 week period is focused on this thing. And you build up a regularity of interacting with the language or with whatever activity you want to do, so that it just becomes part of your life. And then it's much easier to build on top of that after that initial 3 week period.
It's like building the calluses on your fingers to get back into guitar playing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps you, Sean. Or sorry, go ahead. You want to give another analogy?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, no, right, exactly. Guitar playing is a perfect example. Like, getting back into it, your body just can't handle it anymore. It
literally
takes time
hurts.
to build it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it literally hurts your fingers.
You might say like, oh, I want to do like an hour a day or 2 hours a day of guitar playing, but you literally cannot do that because your you'll probably get tendonitis.
Yeah.
Or carpal tunnel. So,
Or all of the above.
Reacclimating is being gentle with yourself, understanding that like some days are not going to go great. It's really about trying to build up that foundation for future learning.
Cool. Thanks. I hope that helps you, Sean, and I hope that you get back on the immersion wagon and you stick
Also,
around.
shout out to Sean.
Woo.
He's a good community member.
I don't know him by name, but I totally believe that. Sean's great.